In today's video, we're going to be talking about, is my ISA setting up junk appointments? And 3 specific ways that you're going to be able to tell that and determine if that's actually what's happening with your own ISA. So without further ado, let's get into it. So step number 1 here is you need to actually determine what the life event is. Why are you actually setting this appointment in the first place, right? And so the way that we train on this specifically, the question that you need to ask yourself, is this a need to move or is this a want to move? And so as with everything that I say here in this video today and just in general, take everything that I say with a grain of salt, okay? You need to go out and experience this for yourself. Don't just rely on what people on the internet are telling you. But I can say this beyond a shadow of a doubt. I know this to be true. If you go back and look through your last 100 transactions, put them on a Google Sheet, add a column in Google Sheets, and title that column Life Event. Go through and literally label each transaction, figure out, what was the life event that caused that person to actually transact. I would bet money that 75% or more of those transactions, assuming that you're not in a second home market like Breckenridge or Vail or any of those markets, assuming that you're not in a second home market, there is going to be a life event attached to that transaction. So you've got to identify, is this a need to move or is this a want to move? Rate that motivation on a scale of 10. And you also need to ask yourself, is there pain attached to that life event? This is something that I don't hear this talked about that much, but it is super important, okay? Finding the life event is not enough. The life event is actually sort of surface level, to be totally honest with you. The life event is the problem. The pain point is the trigger. The pain point is what causes the person to need to transact today. That's what we're all looking for. We're looking for people that need to transact today. So find the life event and then find the pain point attached to that life event. So I'll give you a very clear example. So let's say newlywed couple is expecting kids here in the next 6 months. So growing family is the life event, okay? After digging a little bit deeper and asking the right questions, we determine that right now the newlywed couple is living in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment in a not-so-amazing area of town, and it's just not, they're expecting twins. How about that? Now we're talking, now we've got a life event, we've got pain attached to that life event. Guys, if you can match up a life event with a pain point, I mean, it's not a question of if you're going to make money. The question is really how much are you going to make? That's really what it comes down to. So if you're not able to get to a motivation of 9 out of 10 or higher, I'm going to make the argument that you're not asking the right questions. And, anytime that I have found that I can't get to a motivation higher than a 9 out of 10, typically it's not because the person's a tire kicker. Typically it's because I'm not asking the right questions. And I need to look at myself before I start complaining about, the leads suck. These people, they just, no matter what I do, they won't transact. It's probably because I'm not asking the right questions. Okay, so look inward before you start making excuses about the leads. Okay, so that's number 1. ISA should be only focused on booking 9s and 10s. All right, that brings me to step number 2 or item number 2 here. So you're met with KPI. If you plot on a Google Sheet the number of people that your team meets with every month, and you track that, in one column, and then in the column just to the right of that, you track how much revenue your team generated in that same month. What should happen is there's going to be about a 3-month lead time between the total number of people that were met with in column A, and then that should show up in column B about 3 months later in the form of an increase in GCI. So how many people that you meet with ultimately determines how much money you make. That's been my experience. Zillow has a statistic on this. The agent that gets face-to-face first with the lead wins the business. I think it's like 80% of the time. Okay? So met with is an incredibly important statistic. And guys, just in general, people don't like waiting around. They want quick, speed. They got a lot of things going on. They don't have time to wait around. They want things done quickly. So your whole business needs to be optimized for speed, less friction. Less friction is what's going to get you paid. If you do not have a met with ratio of 50% or higher, and I realize there's some nuance there, it's going to be a little bit low. It's going to be a little bit lower for buyer leads versus seller leads. Like for seller, for listing appointments, it actually should be, I would say 70% or higher for listing appointments. Buyers, it could be a little bit lower than 50%, but just speaking generally, just to help you troubleshoot if you've even got this problem with junk appointments ending up on your calendar or not, if you're not at 50% or higher, there's probably a handful of things that are not happening. Item number one here, ISA call structure is probably non-existent. If you don't know what that is, I can just about guarantee you that it's non-existent. I'm not going to go into that on this video today, because I could spend probably another 25 to 30 minutes talking about that in a separate video, which I'll probably put together. But your call structure is probably non-existent. Did the ISA handle objections properly? They probably didn't handle the objections properly or at all, okay? If you don't actually acknowledge and handle the objection correctly, the ISA may try to book an appointment, may try to force an appointment that's not there, and the person's not going to show up, okay? The ISA did not identify clearly what the life event is. Again, 9s and 10s only, slam dunks. We're not interested in 6s, we're not interested in 7s, not interested in 8s. I want 9s and 10s. I want slam dunks. They did not find a serious pain point. If you did not do any of these items, I can just about guarantee that you did not establish trust with your prospect, and that means that if you did go in for an appointment, the appointment was forced, and it's going to lead to a no-show because the lead was just trying to get you off the phone. Okay? So if your met with is not at least 50% or higher, odds are there's something going on here. For extra credit, don't book appointments more than 2 days into the future. For obvious reasons, people just have a lot going on these days, and unless there's a really good reason why you're booking that appointment more than 2 days into the future, I don't recommend it because your show-up rate drops through the floor. Group text confirmations, really important, okay? So group the agent in with the lead, have the agent reply to that text, and hopefully if you've done everything right, the lead should reply as well. Everybody's on the same page. That typically is indicative of a very high met with ratio. The last thing that I'm going to mention here is a KPI that, I'll be honest, I have not seen too many teams track this, if at all. This is days to close, and it's maybe, I don't know, I can maybe come up with a better name than that, but let me explain exactly what this is as far as how to measure the effectiveness of your ISA. So go back and look through the last 50 to 100 closings from your ISA. If it's taking more than 180 days to close that appointment from the date that the appointment was set to the close date, it's very likely there is a problem somewhere. See step 2, and that's basically what I'm talking about right here. All of these items. So this is a number that should be tracked for every ISA on your team. And it might take you a little bit of time to get all that data put together, but ideally, it should be taking you about 90 days for the agent to actually close the appointment that is being set by your ISA. If it's taking you any more than 90 days, odds are there's a problem with one of these items here. If it's taking you any more than 180 days, there's absolutely a problem with one of these items here. And so, I would say within the range of 90 to 180 days, like that's typical, like that's about what I've seen. Anything more than that, your ISA is not setting up quality appointments. In fact, they're setting up junk appointments, which is the title of this video today. Anyways, that wraps up the video for today. I hope you found that helpful. If there are any other KPIs that you find helpful in terms of measuring ISA performance and the quality of the appointments that are being set up, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to see what you got. I appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.